What the is leadership? Thought-provoking conversations with expert leadership scholars, exceptional leadership practitioners, and other extraordinary individuals. Good day. I'm Jonathan Kroll, and I am the founder and a lead trainer of the Leadership Trainer Certification Program. And I am so excited for our conversation today with Chantelle Fitzgerald, who is an incredible leadership educator and the founder of Mindset Strategies, where she specializes in mindfulness and emotional intelligence in her consulting and coaching leadership work. Chantelle, thank you so much for being here.
Thank you so much for having me. I'm so excited to be on your show today.
Great. So as we start these conversations, the question for you is, what the ship?
I love it. I love that that's your intro and that's like your show. So what is leadership? So I like to define leadership really as self-awareness. I really believe in, and a lot of the training that we do with my clients and my company is really training leaders to become more self-aware. And when you are self-aware, when you are present and self-aware, then you can make better decisions. But oftentimes, as leaders, we have blind spots. We don't always know, that we might be overbearing or micromanaging or any of those things. And it's good to cultivate self-awareness from within to then be able to better manage your team and lead your people appropriately.
So the appropriate follow-up question is how do we uncover our blind spots? How do we develop self-awareness so that we can really thrive in our leadership roles and experiences?
Yeah, so a lot of our work is done through training leaders in mindfulness. And mindfulness, and the reason why, and what is mindfulness and meditation? And mindfulness is really about being present. It's really about being aware of the thoughts that are going through your mind. And are you, thinking about the past, or are you thinking about the future and not really here right now? And so we cultivate self-awareness through exercises. So when I work with our clients, we do all kinds of exercises that really help to illuminate people's blind spots. For example, one of them is listening. Oftentimes, to be a great listener, to be a great leader, you want to be a good listener. And so oftentimes, we are not good listeners. We like to cut people off. We like to think about what they're going to say next, or we're thinking about what we are going to say next, and we don't actually stay present with the other person to hear them fully. And so just doing that exercise with clients alone already illuminates their blind spot of, oh, I'm actually not as good of a listener as I thought I was.
Yeah. Well, and listening is also a compassion-centric leadership practice where when we're actually listening to somebody, we're listening intently to hear not just the words that they're sharing, but the message behind what it is. And that type of listening draws upon these connections and builds resonance with folks, which is so important, as you know.
Yeah, absolutely. And you hit on a good point in terms of, compassion and compassion centric. And yeah, when we do this exercise with our clients, it's very illuminating, because we do an exercise where people basically are not allowed to say anything for 2 full minutes while the other person is speaking for 2 full minutes. And they realize, like, oh my gosh, it was so hard, one, to not say anything for 2 minutes. Two, I wanted to cut them off and turn the conversation back on myself and be like, oh my gosh, me too, that happened to me. And then you're totally derailing the conversation. But in that, we realize that, wow, when we just listen to somebody for 2 full minutes, we're actually building a better relationship. The other person feels valued. The other person feels respected. They feel heard. And at the end of the day, we all just want to be heard.
Yes.
So being a good leader requires being present enough to listen to your people.
Yeah. Well, and I want to go back to this notion what I often get asked is, so if we're supposed to be here now and really tap into mindfulness, how do we navigate, how do we juxtapose that with also this notion of visioning as a leader, right? And being forward thinking of where we can take our organization or our community in the future. So, how do we balance that?
Yeah, absolutely. Great question, because it kind of sounds like a little bit of an oxymoron, right?
Right.
If we're supposed to be present, how can we be visionaries? Is that us like not, being in the present moment? And so, what I would say to that is it depends on what you're doing, right? If you're in a meeting and there are people talking, that's not really the time to be visionary and thinking about the future of where you want your company to go. You're supposed to be present and in the meeting and engaged, right? But if you are, at your desk and you are thinking about next steps and in fact, part of mindfulness is taking a step back, is self-reflecting and also reflecting about your business and where it's going. Yes, you are in the moment, literally taking a moment, taking a step back to think about where are we going? What is happening? Are we going in the right direction? Especially now when things have been kind of flipped upside down with all that's going on in our world, this is the time to take a step back and think about what is my next best move. So when you are in, you have the time for it and you can sit and reflect is basically what I'm saying in terms of deciphering that. But you don't want to be a visionary when you're in the middle of a conversation or whatever. You know what I mean? If it's not a visionary conversation, you know
Yeah.
what I mean? If you're in the middle of a meeting or something.
Yeah. Well, and I think you're really highlighting something that is often forgotten and so absolutely essential. We have a mindset broadly where leadership is about action, it's about doing something. And I think you're really highlighting this opportunity for us, if we want to excel at leading, to have a purposeful pause and to dive into our internal state and to really focus on the self reflection and introspection that's so important for leadership.
100%. And I love what you said about, pausing and permission, to pause. And yeah, we all need that as leaders. Something that we talk about in our trainings is that, 70% of the time leaders find it difficult to stay focused, is one statistic. 47% of the time, our minds are constantly wandering, and so we're never really here in this moment. And then the other one is only 2% of the time do we take the time to step back and reflect on what is our next best move. And I totally agree with what you're saying in regards to reflection and how important it is as leaders to take a pause, to reflect on where am I going? What am I doing? And is this the right direction we need to be going in? That's so important to being a great leader.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much for this conversation. And I want to provide you an opportunity for the last word as we explore what the fuck is leadership.
Oh wow. So the last word I would say is to challenge yourself to be present. Can you just, and what does that mean, right? I mean, so just noticing one breath. Do you even know that you're breathing in this moment? And when you can tune into just your breath, noticing one inhale, noticing one exhale, and we can even do that right now.
Yeah, let's do it.
So when we do that, noticing one inhale and one exhale, we become more present. We are focused on our breath in that moment. And that's a grounding exercise, and it's going more inside of yourself. And so, when as leaders, we deal with a lot of things, right? There's a lot coming at us. We're managing a lot of people. Perhaps there's a lot of emails, particularly now when everything is upside down. It can be overwhelming and stressful, and there's a lot of uncertainty. And so I would say the one key thing is to go to your breath. Your breath is your refuge. That is a place where you can pause, take a step back, and reflect on what is your next best move.
I love that. I'm what a phenomenal last statement. And I want to just follow and say a practice that I've started doing recently, I wish I've done it longer, was before I go into a meeting. So at this transition moment, either by myself, I'll take a moment to breathe and just sort of take in the breath with the intention of what energy I want for my meeting or conversation. And when I exhale, to release whatever was just happening before that meeting. And then sometimes I'll do it with the group when I'm feeling that we've got this sort of tension or energy that just needs to be released. Before we have a group conversation, I'll ask for us to just take a moment to breathe. And so I really appreciate this the conscious breath work.
Yeah, no, I couldn't agree more. And I love that. I love that you take a moment before you go into a meeting. We train a lot on that too. We call it a minute to arrive. And I love how you bring that into your leadership and to also the people that you're training as well. That's a beautiful thing. Thank you for sharing that. And wonderful. I love it.
Yeah, me too. Well, Chantelle, thank you so very much for being on this conversation.
Yeah, thank you so much for having me. I'm super grateful. And thanks for all the work that you do in leadership and really helping others be the best versions of themselves too. So thanks for all you do, Jonathan. I'm really grateful.
Thanks for joining this conversation on what the leadership is. If you enjoyed it, please subscribe to this channel and don't forget to check out leadershiptrainer.org for all of your leadership training, programming, and resources.